Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Long Voyage. Am I correct in saying this is going to be number 20?
You are correct. We went to great lengths to point out that the last time was episode 19.
Yes, I may temporarily have caught up to how many episodes we are actually up to. Expect me to have forgotten again next week. But yes, episode 20 of the Long Voyage, and we are still in the Lotus Empire, so I'm going to hand it over to you, Chris, and let you do a recap.
Sure. Last time on the Long Voyage, we set off on a grand adventure inlands into Lotus Lands to escort the daughter of Lord Bao of Lan Wan to be married. In doing so, we were exposed to more and more of the strange, exotic, and in some cases quite beautiful landscape of the Lotus Lands. We got to conversing or otherwise interacting with various members of the troop between us. And after many, many days of journeying in wagons and having all kinds of shenanigans, we pulled in at a tiny sort of village/hamlet, which was, as we admitted, a bit of a shithole.
Yes.
To rest and pass as best we could. It was here that we, the Southlanders on the journey, and the members of the Imperial contingent joining us, talked about the inequalities and injustices of the feudal system they have going in the Lotus Empire between the various lords, and what it all means, really, and about the circumstances involving the most prominent Imperial sword, the Sword of the Dove.
Yes.
After which we all decided to get some kip. Wasn't very good kip, though, because we all apparently seemed to phase into existence in a tiny room somewhere made of stone, one after the other. Even Buggy, who was still asleep and remained asleep throughout the entire thing, even when we lost him. Because we all went journeying, and being Southlanders, we like going towards danger, so we had two choices. We could have gone through a door which led to somewhere we didn't know, or we could have gone through another door which led to somewhere else we didn't know, but from which a sound was emerging.
Yes.
We went through with the one with sound. We were toyed with by some creature for a while. We explored onwards, and we came out somewhere, I'm not quite sure where, but we were confronted by, of all things, an ice reaver and a couple of its little minions, like it was holding court or something.
Yes, a couple of dire wolves and a whole bunch of ravens.
Yes, because, strange things, and the ice reaver basically said a few words, decided it had enough of us, and told us to fuck off, which we
Yes.
did. And then out of nowhere, the Raven Lady appeared. Once we appeared to wake up back in the camp and made it clear that we were still dreaming, because dreams within dreams are still the rage, even 6 years after Inception came out.
Yes.
But yeah, and she told us that basically she reaffirmed what we all already knew as players, is that yes, despite the fact that this is a story of an entire crew and that Orma's journey will one day have stories told of it, we are the most important people on this trip, at least according to the Raven Lady, because we are doing a duty for her personally.
Yes.
In following up the ancient prophecy of the Knaven saga and finding the Red Raven specifically for her.
Yes.
After discussing this and that and various other things with her regarding this duty, we all woke up properly, each taking a different sort of a different outlook from the message we were given, the task we were given, I suppose.
Yes.
And in the end, we all decided to sort of deal with it by having some fun, and there was lots of booping of noses going on between those people.
Much booping, such funs. Such ahas.
And from there, we decided to carry on our way.
Yes.
I think that's where we left off, anyway.
It is. The wagon train basically has gotten underway the following day. You've gotten up, you've gotten going, and you've now been on the road again as we rejoin you. You've been on the road for a little while again. And it's quickly settled into this routine when you are on the road, one foot in front of the other. Your minds probably wander here or there, because otherwise it's just going to be mind-numbingly dull. But at least at least Liling is more than happy to have guests who can play board games with her. So, all of you have that option. Several at there's room for more than one person in the several room for several people in her personal transportation. So you can play a board game with actually as many as 4 people, and there would still be room. And she is quite happy to do so. She's also there were people who wanted to learn how to read and write, and she was most happy to let people use her writing utensils, because that also gave her a chance to look at your writing, which she found massively interesting and probably a little bit crude compared to the Imperial script, which is extremely elaborate. But she's willing to learn and eager to learn. She seems to think it's fun. Again, she can't actually speak, but it's pretty clear that she's enjoying it, because again, it's not dull. It's not just sitting in her wagon doing fuck all while you guys rumble through 10 days of journey on the on open road. And it actually takes you this time, it takes you you pass a couple of other small villages where the scene, except for the vision, pretty much repeats itself every time. You find some little snot hole somewhere where you can pull up in a circle for the night and get some food and so on. And it's not every night, obviously, that this is an option, but it happens. It's usually every few days at least you have a chance to do that, and get some hot food from somebody's kitchen. Some places the food is better than in others, and one of these snot holes that you end up in, you actually have to fight these gigantic oversized bed bugs for the privilege of sleeping in the hay that they have put in the beds. But several of the the soldiers that are along basically just they take their stuff and go outside and sleep under the carts instead, because it's less uncomfortable.
I yes, second.
Yes, when you have bed bugs large enough to basically take up the same space as the fingernail from one of your little fingers, that's massive.
You?
Yeah, it's really icky.
I mean, I've slept on a boat. I can certainly sleep under the open sky.
Yeah, definitely not a problem. So yeah, the upside to that place at least is that the food is actually quite good. But you can't have everything, clearly. And you are after about 8 more days of journeying through. Yeah. It's a long journey. It's definitely a long voyage. Haha. It's you're not just going a few days inland. You're really going quite far. And you are will the fields never end? No, they won't. They keep on going until you get to the 7th day, and then the fields quite suddenly end. Well, at least the rice paddies do, but then you have, green grass instead with livestock grassing. And the so you get a good look at the cattle of this place. They look kind of weird. Their cows look strange, probably because what you don't know is they're water buffaloes, but strange cows indeed. Pigs at least look like pigs. Sheep.
Oh well, that's good.
Sheep look roughly like sheep, but the cows are weird.
Mm-hmm. Yes, with their strange horns and
yes, and long ears and stuff. This is bizarre.
I think it's probably at this point Thrody decides to stay near Ren
Yeah.
and chat with him about local fauna.
Yes. Oh, he's more than happy to, and there's at one point where you actually pass an enclosed field. It's large. It's quite large, but it's still enclosed, and there are horses, and they're completely different horses. Again, I mean, you have seen them. You have horses offered to you that you can ride here, but this is of a different magnitude altogether. These are majestic creatures. They are larger than any horses you've seen before. They are bundles of muscle. These are war horses. There's no question. These can carry armed men into battle. And as opposed to Southlander horses that are typically fairly small actually and very shaggy. These are huge beasts that look like they could carry someone very swiftly indeed.
I mean, that's definitely going to spend some time talking about those, and that's a good set way to talk about big, large, scary animals and then predators.
Yes. Oh yes.
Because Thrody is quite interested in what kind of predators do you have here?
Oh, well, they have. He talks about. Well, there are several different kinds. Of course, they have snakes. They have various birds. They have wolves, for example. Those would be it. And then he does eventually. He comes around to tigers, and describes them as pretty much the pinnacle of the food chain in the animal kingdom. And he describes them in some detail to you, and basically the impression you get is that it's a somewhat downsized, weak-ass ice reaver, which is orange.
Which, of course, I let him know.
Yeah.
And take great pleasure in describing the nastiness that is an ice reaver.
I mean, I think we did that last session, but yeah.
I think he wasn't there at that point.
He wasn't there.
So, he definitely, at first you can sort of tell that he's not sure if you're pulling his leg, because that sounds almost too fantastical, and then as he realizes that you're not, he looks very impressed, because quite frankly that sounds like an absolute beast. He does mention as well that they have bears and various, several different kinds of bears actually in the Lotus Empire.
We have bears. They're big and white, and our ice reavers eat them.
White? Oh, of course, because of the snow.
Yes.
And ice reavers eat the bears.
Yes.
Well, I suppose a tiger could eat a bear here, but it would be foolish to actually attack one because the bear is stronger.
Not so in the Southlands. Poor bear is going to run away with its tail between his legs.
Very stumpy little tail. Yes.
That's it.
He's like... one part of me would actually really like to see one of these brilliant creatures. The other part of me knows that it would probably also be the last thing I ever saw in this life.
This is true of even Southlanders.
It sounds like an absolutely horrifying predator. We don't have anything comparable to that here, but we do. I mean, a tiger will kill a grown man. There is no question of that. But yes, he's very. He's impressed. He's clearly impressed. And he doesn't mind showing it either. He's not reserved in that sort of way. He's very approachable like that.
That sounds like we're having a good chat.
Oh hell yes! You're probably anything but bored most of the rest of the day as you talk about basically about what animals you have in different in the Southlands and in the Empire, and obviously there are quite a lot of them. So
does he have a favorite animal?
He does. He says that he particularly likes birds. He likes hawks and falcons the best because he hunts with them. back home. He's
Do we have anything comparable to
no,
that in the south?
no, you don't have falconry in the Southland at all.
In that case, please do elaborate, because that sounds awesome.
Well, he smiles widely and is most pleased to describe the noble art of hunting with birds, which he, of course, again spends quite a lot of time on, and is, describes how you have to train them, you have to pick them from their immediately after they're hatched, so they imprint on you, and all of this sort of thing.
Mm.
Mm.
What do the Southlanders have anything akin to domesticated wolves, dogs, kind of thing?
They have dogs, definitely. They have hunting dogs as well, for that matter, and much smaller dogs. He also says that that there are breeds of dogs that are basically just kept as household pets with the especially rich people who can afford to feed an animal that doesn't really serve much of a purpose.
How needlessly extravagant.
Yes, but it's a status symbol, he says. So the finer your dog, the better. They even have contests in some places as to who has the finest dog. And
So
it's all based
basically,
Oh, sorry, please.
what they're doing is, hey, we have so much money, we can even feed a little useless dog.
Yes, exactly.
But if the dogs don't hunt, how can they figure out which one is the best?
Yeah, that's a good question, he says. I never quite understood that part myself, but apparently it's based exclusively on how the dog looks. So how perfect is its, when it stands, and how perfect does it look when it runs, and how perfect does it look when it walks, and how perfect is its face, and how perfect is its legs, and how... yeah, I'm sure you get it.
I think some of your people have way too much time.
Yes, I absolutely agree. He says, I am a man of considerable wealth myself, and at least I do something with myself rather than just sit in my estates, or on my estates, getting fat and lazy while petting small ugly dogs.
Nah, that sounds horrible.
It is, in my opinion. It's not very adventurous, and you don't get to see much of the Lotus Empire, and let's face it, it is beautiful. Even though rice paddies can get a little repetitive. Just a little.
Suddenly, I must admit, I'm finding the wealth of these lands less appealing. It seems greater wealth only inspires more frivolous and whimsical nobles.
I agree, he says, but, well, let's put it this way. When we reach my lands, and we will pass through them on the way, I shall be very, very happy to show you around. I'm mostly devoid of rice paddies. I have excellent hunting. I should very much like to go hunting with you. I'm sure that you have techniques that are very different from mine.
Possibly. It would be my pleasure to show you, and to learn from you as well.
So, yes. Just a moment. It seems that Aya is having continuous problems with sound.
Yes, this is...
I think for the next hour we're going to swap from Discord to Skype to try that.
Seems fair.
The sound is not as it's not as clear. So to you listeners out there, we apologize if the sound quality does go down a little. But on the other hand, we will at least be able to hopefully hear what we say to each other. So. But yes, after, as I said, 8 days, you reach these green fields of livestock, and late on the 8th day, you can see in the far distance, you can see walls of a city.
Oh, so better than one of those small villages we've been in.
And very different. And And again, this time it's not Ren, but one of your other traveling companions who can tell you that in fact this is, let's see, who's the one saying this? Let it be Eileen, the seamstress that you've brought along. She tells you that this city that you're coming up towards is called Kepa. And this brings a bit of amusement from most of the locals, and from those of you who have learned how to speak some of the language, it seems weird, because what she says is that this city is called Awful.
Oh, but that's like Betrayal in Denmark.
Yes, pretty much. This city is literally called Awful. And so you know, it gets a lot of smirks from everyone else in the caravan who hears it, because it's, I mean, obviously it's true, but it's also obviously a source of some amusement.
The amount of times you can say, "Oh, this place is awful," before the joke.
Exactly, you know, before the joke sort of runs out. And
That joke never runs out.
you know, but you are you have to basically, you can't reach it before nightfall anyway, and even if you could, you wouldn't be let through the gates because they shut you know, just after nightfall. So you know, you have one last stay out under open skies, but early the next day, you know, you get up at sunrise obviously, and that means that pretty early the next day you actually reach Kepa, as this city is called, and none of you have ever seen anything which even remotely compares to this. It makes CharismaToAC look like an absolute dump. The walls are beautifully built. You could almost swear that they are made from, you know, one big piece of stone, so tightly do the individual blocks fit together. You have to get really close to see where they where the division between the division between individual stones in the wall is located, and are located, and the they're tall. They're very, very tall. They're slightly slanted walls as well for extra strength. It's not just straight up and down. It's slightly slanted a little bit, which would also make it, you know, more difficult to roll a siege engine up to it. And in general, it really is. It looks like, again, like something out of your wildest, most extravagant and luxurious dreams.
I think Thrody has suddenly developed a taste for architecture.
And I'm going to move you guys over, because you are let through the gates fairly easily. In fact, Ren shows some credentials, and you are let through. And you find yourself in a city
Oh my.
like this.
Oh.
Just constantly looking up at things.
You're looking up at things. There's color everywhere. They paint their houses.
That's peculiar.
It is an explosion of color.
I think the name is ironic.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, out of character and possibly in character, depending on how linguistics develop. Awful did once upon a time used to mean something a bit different. It used to mean as in to inspire awe.
Yes. But here you go. There's a file on Kepa here. So.
Yeah, there you go. That.
So there's something for you to read should you wish to familiarize yourselves with the layout of the place. And as oh, sorry.
I can see we're at a disadvantage here, guys. Visitors are expected not to cog it up.
Yes.
What this basically results in is that we must basically do as we're told and keep our mouths shut. We're screwed.
Very.
Well, what happens is that Li Ling and Ren and well, those two are basically sent to. They will be living in the local lord's compound, and the actual soldiers from Lord Bao's personal forces will be stationed in the garrison buildings attached to the castle. But strictly speaking, you guys are mercenaries, you're sellswords. So you are in need of lodgings somewhere.
Yes.
The same thing goes for Ah Cheng and for Aileen, for that matter. They also need a place to stay, and you know, they're kind of looking around because, well, Aileen has been here before, but it's been several years, and Ah Cheng has never been here. So there's like, wow, look at this place, you know.
Good to know we're not the only ones going, wow, look at this place, then.
No, he's definitely one of them. He's completely baffled that anything can be this big. And he also just does not understand the name of the place at all.
So, how does the letters look for inn or tavern or?
Oh, he said, well, he points towards a building and says that, well, we could probably stay over there. It's that says that it's got, you know, beds and food and so on. And Lin looks at it for a while and then just shrugs and goes, yeah, sure.
Well,
All right.
And in fact, we will say it is this building here.
well, that's certainly quite nice looking. I do quite like the colors.
Which building?
This one.
That one there.
Ooh.
Yes. And so you go over there. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes.
All right. Well,
This is where we realize that it's Baggy's dream place is a brothel.
well,
No.
you are in fact met in the door by, well, right just inside the door, I should say, by a woman. This woman, to be precise.
Oh, cool.
She looks stern.
Yes, she does.
Ah,
You're-
I weren't that far off.
No, you weren't.
But yes, you have entered an establishment called the Scarlet Cloud. And as she approaches you, she sees Ah Cheng coming in first, and then Aileen right after him, and then she sees you guys, and just stops dead in her tracks, and looks up. I mean, people have been kind of gawking at you in the street as well because they've never seen Southlanders before, but she sees you guys up close in her business establishment, and quite frankly, her jaw just drops. Because what is going on? You can just see it on her face.
really winks at her.
She looks at the two locals, and then she looks at the Southlanders, and then back to the locals, and says, she speaks quite slowly, obviously because she's not sure if you guys will understand her. And she says, "Welcome to the Scarlet Cloud. Our services are entirely at your disposal. Rooms, companionship, food, drink, it's all available." But she just, again, she cannot take her eyes off the Southlanders.
Ilva cocks her head slightly. Companions? Question mark.
I don't understand that word. What does it mean?
Ah-Cheng leans over towards you and whispers in your ears, "It means someone you sleep with and have fun in bed with."
Oh.
Ah! Then this is not an inn.
It is also an inn.
Ah. I suppose that's sensible. You might be tired afterwards and want to spend the night.
And it's right inside the city gates.
Probably see a lot of travelers. That sounds like a good business opportunity.
Indeed, it certainly does. Well, he looks back to her and says, well, we should probably start by getting some rooms. One for each of us, I guess. And I don't think any of us are actually going to be, sharing a bed. So...
Well, not with each other. No.
That's what I mean. He says that was what I meant. So yes, we need, well, what would that be? 5, 6, 7 rooms? And Hanako, as her name is, nods and says that can certainly be arranged. And then she looks a little sheepish and says, "I am guessing that it will be for at least an entire night, not just for a short period." And Eileen smiles a disarming smile and says, "Yes, we do in fact intend to stay here at least for one night, probably a little more, I expect." And Hanako nods and says that is not a problem. I have enough rooms available for that. And she gestures for you to follow her, and she takes you upstairs and then upstairs again to the second floor, where she shows each of you to your individual rooms. And they're not terribly large, but they're certainly comfortable. The bed looks very inviting in each of them, very comfortable, and there's a table with a couple of chairs, not a table, not chairs, but one of those low tables, and there are some pillows on which to kneel. That's how it is. There's a wash basin in each room as well.
That's nice. I imagine we're in need of a wash.
Yes, and she does ask if you would like a bath, not just a wash basin, but an actual bath.
Yes.
Yep.
She looks probably a little more surprised than she intends at the emphatic answer from these gigantic, huge, hairy creatures.
Hey! I haven't grown a mustache yet.
Yes, I think if Sindri sees us, he looks at her and just says, "We're not savages."
No, I'm sorry, she says. I've simply never seen people like you before. Where are you from? If I may ask. The Southlands. Well, I can guess from the name that it's to the south.
Very long south.
Oh, so you would be, well, I guess that fits. We've heard tales from travelers, from merchants, who have said that in foreign ports they have met people they refer to as southern giants, but I guess most people just thought they were stories. I can see they're not. I'm privileged to have you stay at my establishment, and I will do my utmost to make sure that your stay is pleasant.
Well, thank you very much. I'm pleased to hear that even in the wide world we're still the biggest.
I've certainly never seen people as tall or built like you before. I mean, maybe the occasional extraordinarily large man might be roughly your height, but she says, there are 5 of you at the same time. and she's I mean, the point being that she is about, she may be just over 5 feet tall, just a smidgen over 5 feet tall. So you guys are gigantic.
Just a little bit.
And then she says, well, I should let you enjoy your rooms for a bit, and I will send someone to let you know when your bath has been prepared. I should probably tell you that it is a communal bathhouse. So we can set up screens if you would prefer privacy.
Yes, please.
Sure, we will do that.
I mean, yes, well,
Yeah, the thought of bathing next to Ylva is... I can see all sorts of problems with that.
It is no problem for me to arrange for screens at all. I will make sure that those are there. Would you like someone to help you with your bath, scrubbing your backs, soap, that sort of thing?
perhaps someone to help. We have some local clothes. Perhaps someone to help. In my case, help me into them. They are more complex than ours.
Well, of course, that is not a problem. Would you prefer this person to help you to be male or female? And she asks as if it is either is perfectly reasonable.
Female.
Certainly.
I don't care.
Very well.
No, me neither.
Okay. Well, she nods and what about Gylfi? Is he also? We haven't really heard from you today.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think. Good.
okay.
Come on,
and-
you.
Oh, sorry. Please go on.
If he's the playboy, he has to have it be a woman.
And Gylfi is like not bothered.
Okay. Well, they she arranges, as I said, for baths, and it doesn't take that long actually, and then she arranges for you to somebody comes by and lets you know that you have a bath waiting for you. And then this person leads you to another building, which is out back behind this one, but it's still within a walled enclosure.
Mhm.
And steam is coming out of this place. So you can obviously tell that it's going to be a hot bath.
Yes, just
Delightful.
And
we're very much not used to that.
as you get in, you can see these large tubs, and there are 8 tubs in the room, and people are already arranging for screens. As I said, they set up screens so that each tub is divided from the others. You also see 2 tables further along. Actually, no, you see 4 tables further along. And you see some very muscular people standing there, men and women, ready clearly to do something with people on the tables. So basically, masseurs.
Hmm.
Well, that's certainly Gork-worthy.
Yes, it definitely is.
Yes.
But each of you you are all taken to your individual bathtubs. As I said, they are very large. They're even large enough for you guys to move around a bit in.
That isn't.
And the water is hot. And there are people, as I said, there are people ready to pour in some cold water if you want it to be a little less hot. or even more hot water if you still think it's not quite hot enough. And basically you are being serviced in many different very nice ways.
I think for Brody, he tests how hot he can actually withstand.
Yeah, you can take quite a bit, obviously, and they even, you know, they come by with rice wine for each of you while you're there, you know, complimentary drinks basically.
Oh, this place is really nice.
Yes, it is in fact really nice.
I'm not used to being pampered, but I enjoy it.
Yes, it's definitely, this is definitely pampering. Also, the rice wine is criminally good. It has that slight aftertaste of something we today would recognize it as an aftertaste that's not unlike marzipan.
Oh.
But of course, there's nothing equivalent in this world really. But it's just so you have an idea of roughly what the taste is. And while each drink is not very strong, they are more than happy to keep filling your small cups as you drink.
Oh, is this the classic? Is this the classic? You've got to not finish it to show that you're done thing.
Perhaps, maybe. The point is, at least, that the mood is certainly going to be pretty good in here and not too long, because, you know, you're all getting tipsy and you're all getting pampered.
Oh God, how much is this going to cost us?
That's a good question. I think Thrody is careful not to get too hammered since it's a new place.
Yes, of course. And at some point, a person comes to each of you in whatever gender you specified, if you specified any, and says,
You said you didn't care.
"If roll me a dice, 1d6." Sure.
6 people.
All right, no, it's a guy who comes to your tub, and what these people ask you is whether you would also like for them to arrange for companionship, whether for a short while or the entire night or whatever. But you know, they're basically asking whether you are hiring.
I see.
And it's also pretty clear from their questions that it's not necessarily themselves that they are, you know, that it could be, but it could be someone else as well. They're simply, you know, explaining that the option is there. Yes, indeed. Yes, and in Gulfi's case, he gets, there's a woman coming to ask, because basically it's evens, it's a woman, odds it's a man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
and Ilva will politely say no, thank you.
no, that's not a problem at all. They have there's no, it's not a requirement in any way, but the offer is still there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Thrody declines as well.
Yes.
Although he has other stuff he'll ask for later.
Although her face is the same color as Brothy's hair when she says no, thank you.
So the bath. Oh, sorry, please.
Sindri will probably go for the companionship thing.
Sure, not a problem. And yet again, they ask you whether you prefer this companion to be male or female. And again, it's done in a manner which tells you pretty clearly they don't care either way.
How surprising.
Yeah, it's very different from what you're used to, clearly.
Yes, female.
Certainly. And they basically they make sure you have your bath, and as you get out of the bath, you are not so much directed as you know, politely offered the option of going over to the tables with the very muscular people, and it is explained that it's to, for them to work through the tension in muscles and so on. So yes, basically a massage.
Oh,
got-
that
I've got-
sounds interesting.
They're going to break their
Right.
fingers on Sindri.
And yes, there are women there as well for someone like Ylva, who, you know, they have all contingencies taken care of in this place.
I think Ella will stand for a moment and see what actually goes on because she hadn't really caught that yet.
Yes, well,
The massage thing is new,
yes.
and then she'll, alright.
Well, Frothy was pretty quick to say yes, so you get up on one of the tables, and a couple of large, hunky guys with big upper arms start, you know, kneading through your muscles, and at first, it's ow, ow, because, you know, this is unfamiliar.
And I've been sitting on a horse that I'm not used to for most of the journey.
Exactly, and then little by little, just, you know, it doesn't even take all that long. You just feel like, I'm melting. Oh, this is nice. And you can all just see on Frothy's face that he gets this almost sleepy smile on spreads on his face, and he just completely relaxes.
Yeah, definitely going for that.
Alright, he didn't die. We can do this.
Yes. So all of you do this, or what about again, Gylfi? Is he also?
It's also out for me a little bit. Is he also what?
Sorry, I can't hear that. You break up.
Sorry, let me relog. How about now?
That was better.
Okay.
What did you say?
Just because it cut out for me a little bit. Is Gylfi doing what?
Massage.
There's a massage table ready for him with some rather large people with big upper arms ready to knead through his muscles.
Yeah, Gylfi would probably partake something new.
Yes. Well, then in that case, as I said, there are 4 tables, and well, presently there are 4 of you. And again, they arrange for screens over there so that, you know, you have privacy. But you can definitely, you're close enough to each other that you can talk. The same thing as when you were in the what's it called? In the actual bathtubs. And these people really know what they're doing. They are professional masseurs, and you are all just they can make anyone relax, you know, almost as if you can be made of stone, and when you get through their hands you will be made of butter, and soft butter at that. So it is that relaxing. And yes, and admittedly, they too are clearly impressed by your physical stature and the fact, you know, you're huge and you look outlandish. Your hair, your features, your faces are just very, very alien to them. So they're all just super interested in you. But these people don't talk unless you talk to them.
I don't think Thrody talks to them unless it's to direct them to certain areas.
Yes.
Well, I imagine Ylva with her 15 strength is interesting.
Very. These women are not weak. They are strong people, very sinewy and you know, clearly able to work through muscles like yours. But you know, you put them to shame. Obviously, you're simply physically a taller and stronger specimen. They are extremely thorough. There isn't a muscle group in your entire body that isn't. I mean, from your neck to your toes, even your fingers get a quick once over. So by the time you're ready to get up, your heads probably swim a little, both from the alcohol and the experience.
And also all the toxins that made the muscles hard in the first place.
Indeed. But you do feel incredibly refreshed, all of you. If any of you had any, you know, you don't, I know, because you've been traveling for so long, but if you had any fatigue or anything of that sort, it would be gone by now. In fact, I think because none of you have that, I'll say that you all get a temporary fatigue point. It's going to last you the rest of the day.
Oh.
Because this is just, that relaxing and that nice. And when you get up, there are people ready to help you get dressed. If you want to dress in local garb or your own style, that's entirely up to you, but they are ready to help you get dressed in any case.
Definitely trying the new stuff I had made back in London.
Yes, this is the perfect opportunity.
It is indeed.
Asked.
It is indeed. And the point, of course, is that while there are many layers and the colors are so on and so forth, it is quite masculine garb when you get it on. It complements your builds, the fact that you're tall, broad-chested, broad-shouldered, well-built men. It clearly accentuates what needs to be accentuated. So Eileen has done a really good job at making clothes that makes the most of your physical forms, basically.
Good job.
Yes, you'll have to thank her profusely when we next see her.
Yes, and Ylva is also putting on some of the, as you said, the casual things from Lanwan, indeed.
Yeah, she did try the formal one, and that made all the men gawk at her.
Yes.
That was weird, so now she's just wearing the more casual thing.
Yes. Well, guys, we've gone just about enough time for us to take our first break. And as I said, when we swap over, we will swap over to Skype during the break and see if that helps with the sound. So, yes, we will be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with more The Long Voyage in just a moment.